Just a minute. All right, so what we will do is chant the 5th verse, which we have already learned. We shall chant it together, okay? Chant along. Then the 6th one we shall have in call and response manner. Okay, let's try to chant it together. Pritana jitagam sahamanam ugramagnigam huvema paramat sadhasthaat sanah parshadati durgani vishwa samatteva ati duritatyagnihi. Once more. Pritana jitagam sahamanam ugramagnigam hubema paramat sadhasthaat sanah parshadati durgani vishwa samattevo ati duritatyagnihi. Now the 6th one, right? So 6th one, we shall read together the English translation of the 6th verse. We offer our oblations to the fire of Durga to cross over this very difficult ocean of worldly existence. You are lauded for spreading bliss in the sacrifice since ancient times, the bliss resulting from killing the inner enemies. You act as a hota, invoker of bliss, by abiding as a new maiden who is eternally young and free of decay in the sacrificial altar within the hearts of the devotees. Your own conscious form, O Agni, fire of Durga, is a source of happiness, bliss for us, and a source of welfare for our sacrifice. Okay, this is 6th one. This is, it will be in call and response. Pratnosi kamidyo, pratnosi kamidyo, adhvareshu sanacha, adhvareshu sanacha, hota nabhyascha satsi, hota nabhyascha satsi, shanchagne sancha agne tanuvam, sancha agne tanuvam, piprayas Bhasmabhyam cha, piprayas bhasmabhyam cha, saubhaga mayajasva, saubhaga mayajasva. Okay, let's chant together. Pratnosi kamidyo adhvareshu sanacha hota nabhyascha satsi Shancha agne tanuvam piprayas bhasmabhyam cha Saubhaga Maya Jasva. Once more, huh? Pratnosi Kamidyo Advareshu Sanacha Hota Nabhyascha Satsi Shancha Agne Tanuvam Piprayas Bhasmabhyam cha Saubhaga Maya Jassa. So one more verse of this hymn is left that we shall chant in our next class. All right. So now to our class proper. So we are studying Narada Bhakti Sutras, an aphorism of divine love. And after starting with what divine love is, Narada dealt with many other topics like how this divine love expresses through the life of the devotees, and then superiority of bhakti, divine love over other paths. And now the section we are in is about what are the practices for cultivating this bhakti, what we should do to reach such a state where we shall have spontaneous love for God. We saw that Narada mentioned a few practices, 5 practices he mentioned. Then he said that, but chiefly bhakti or devotion for God depends upon association with great people. By great people, it is meant knower of God, illumined people, enlightened people who themselves have realized God. And this is so an important topic that he has dedicated 5 aphorisms on this theme alone, that is holy company or association with enlightened people. So we shall see 2 aphorisms today, which ends this topic called holy company. Okay. The aphorism is 41 and 42. Let's take a look at aphorism 41. Tasmin tat jane bheda abhavat. Let's read it together. Tasmin tat jane bheda abhavat. Abhavat means because there is no bheda, difference between tasmin, that is God, and jane, knower of tat, that is God. So the simple meaning of this aphorism is because there is no difference between God and knower of God. Why Narada mentions this one? Because earlier in the what if we see, past Narada said that Mukkhatu, chiefly this cultivation of devotion depends upon on the grace of enlightened people, that is association with enlightened people. Then he said association of enlightened people is difficult, and we saw the reasons why it is difficult, because of its rarity, because there are so many rare people who have attained or realized God. Secondly, we may not know who are those people. Even if we know, there may be many obstacles, physical distance to get in touch with those people. Secondly, thirdly, even if we go or have association with them, real communion may not happen. There are so many factors. But if that happens, this association takes place, its effect is imperceptible but infallible. It will definitely have effect on our character. And then he said, this holy association is again, but is possible, although rare, but it's possible through the grace of God alone, divine grace alone. And this aphorism states the reason of saying so. This aphorism says that having the grace or association of great people is equivalent to having grace of God, because there is no difference between God and knower of God. What does this mean? It means that an illumined person or a great devotee of God or a knower of God, they have a God consciousness. And because of this God consciousness, they becomes one with God. They become one with God. There is no individual ego left in those great people. So whatever thoughts, ideas that is taking place within them is all related to God. So the grace of such a person is equivalent to grace of God. This statement can best be understood from the Upanishadic statement of the Mundaka Upanishad. In Mundaka Upanishad, 3rd chapter, 2nd section, 9th mantra, it says, Sa yo havai tat paramam brahma veda brahma eva bhavati. That is, one who knows Brahman, the ultimate reality, becomes Brahman. So one who knows God becomes godlike. That is, they become endowed with all the divine qualities, such as love, compassion, which we expect to be in God, and most importantly, a spiritual power. This is very important, spiritual power. With that spiritual power, they can kindle bhakti, devotion in others. If they bestow such grace on others, it is equivalent to divine grace. And that is what we see in the life of, all divine incarnations or disciples of divine incarnation or sages or saints, that they could kindle bhakti in others by touch, look, or even by wish. That is a spiritual power. That is a spiritual power. Take the example of, Sri Ramakrishna's life, and we know, many of us know about the incident that happened on 1st January 1886, towards the end of Sri Ramakrishna's life. On that day, Sri Ramakrishna touched, in an ecstatic mood, touched several devotees who were present and blessed them that may you all be illumined. And the biographer of Sri Ramakrishna interviewed some of the people who were present on that day and interviewed them and tried to find out what happened to them because of Sri Ramakrishna's blessings or Sri Ramakrishna's touch. So in general, they found that all of them forgot time and space. Forgot time and space. Two examples. One was Ramlal Chatterjee, who happened to be Sri Ramakrishna's nephew. He said that Ramlal was already a sadhak or spiritual aspirant. Ramlal recalls that before this, that is before this incident of 1st January, when I meditated, I could see only part of my chosen deity with my mind's eye. When I saw his feet, I could not see his face. And when I saw his form from his face to his waist, I could not see his feet. Moreover, whatever I saw never seemed to be alive. But no sooner had Sri Ramakrishna touched me that day than the whole form of my chosen deity appeared in my heart as a living presence, benign and effulgent. So imagine the power, spiritual power, that what we are talking about in these great lovers of God. Another devotee was Vaikuntha. And Vaikuntha also pestered Sri Ramakrishna, bless me. And Sri Ramakrishna says, all right, and gently touch his chest for a moment. And what happened to Vaikuntha? Vaikuntha later on recalled, consequently, a wonderful change came across my mind. I began to see the master's gracious, smiling, and luminous form in the sky, the houses, the trees, all human beings, and in everything else I saw in all directions. I was overwhelmed with extreme bliss. At that time, that spiritual mood and vision continued for some days. Even in the waking state, I was amazed and spellbound by seeing the blessed master in all things. This experience remained whether I went to the office or elsewhere on business. So this is example of, that how that divine power, spiritual power works through the knower of God. They can in turn kindle supreme devotion in our mind. Another example I just read yesterday, it was about Swami Satprakashananda, who came to this US and was in Vedanta Society of St. Louis, and he was an admired Swami because of his spiritual attainments. So he relates the story that he just out of curiosity as a child, as a young boy he was 11-year-old at that time. And Swami Vivekananda visited his hometown in Bangladesh, which is now Bangladesh. And he heard about that one person has come who is a great person who has come back from US and who is making waves all over the places. So he went to see Swami Vivekananda, and fortunately, Swami Vivekananda was alone and pacing up and down. And seeing the boy, Swami Vivekananda did not say anything, just stopped for a while and looked deeply into the boy's eyes. And Swami Satprakashananda said, it had a tremendous effect on my character. From then on, I developed a strong spiritual inclination. And although I never met Swami Vivekananda again in my life, but that moment transformed my whole life. Eventually, he took to monastic life and became a scholar of Vedanta, came to US, and in turn inspired many more people, just like Houston Smith. Houston Smith, the famous writer about comparative religions, he was very much inspired by Swami Satprakashananda. Not by Swami Satprakashananda's scholarship, but the conviction that reality of God, that God can be realized. God can be realized in this very life. So now a question may arise that Vedanta says all of us are divine. Are not all of us are divine? Then why it is said that there is no difference between God and knower of God? Why this special difference? In fact, there is no difference between any of us and God. The answer is this: yes, whether we know it or not, we are all one with God. And that is Vedanta places before us the goal that to realize this truth that we are all divine. But in our present state, we are not aware of this fact. There is difference in manifestation of this divinity. Although that divinity is in all of us, the difference is the manifestation of the divinity. At what degree this divinity, inner divinity, potential divinity, it manifested through our life. It is as it were, the light is in everyone, the divine light. But in some, the light is blazing. That is, the expression of the light is blazing, which can show path to others, whereas in some the light is not able to illumine the path. The light is dim. So in these perfected people, illumined people, enlightened people, knower of God, whom Narada refers to by the name Mahat, the truly great people, in them the manifestation of divinity is perfect. Sri Ramakrishna gave one example to drive home this point, that the scriptures say that water is God. Water itself is God. But some water is used for worship of God, and some water only for washing the face, mouth, hands, and clothes. The latter water cannot be used for drinking or for worship. Similarly, God is in the hearts of the unholy as well as the holy, in the hearts of devotees and non-devotees. But it all depends upon, the manifestation. In a holy person, a knower of God, this manifestation of divinity is the most, so much so that they can inspire bhakti in others. That is why Narada says that there is hardly any difference between having the grace of God and having grace of holy people or enlightened people. How? The grace of holy people means their association with such people. Interestingly, or I would say incidentally, I am reading a book on Judaism, the mystical Judaism called Kabbalah. So in Kabbalah also there is a subset or subculture of Kabbalah, which is mystical. Kabbalah itself is the mystical version of Jewish tradition, Jewish mysticism, Kabbalah. And one Baal Shem Tov in late 18th century created a new Jewish religious culture, which emphasized, communion with God more than rituals, than spiritual intention over just study of Talmuds, and joyous celebration of life over melancholy. And in that tradition, which is called Hasidic, Hasidism, this Hasidic tradition, the single most important thing is the association with spiritual guide, whom they call Zadik, spelled with Tzaddik, Zadik. or also they are called Rebe, not Rabbi, Rebe, Rebbe. So they, by their personal examples and storytelling and moral authority, guide, lead the seekers of God. So Rebbe is one who has become one with God. And according to this Hasidistic way of life, Rebbe or Zadik is the central to spiritual life or spiritual growth. So I found such an interesting, parallel with this guru-disciple relationship, which is emphasized in Vedanta culture. So summary of this aphorism 41 is, grace of knower of God is equivalent to grace of God. If we can get their association, we shall be endowed with para bhakti, that is supreme devotion, which is the goal of path of bhakti. The path of, we have read already that the goal of bhakti yoga is to have this spontaneous overflowing love for God. And for that, Narada says the most important thing is to have the association with knower of God. And in our last class also we noted why it is so important, because of the conviction, of the knower of God about existence of God, reality of God. And for others, we may say many theories, many theology, but it may not convince us. As we noted, Swami Vivekananda, the great seeker, went from one teacher to another teacher and asked this question, have you seen God? Have you seen God? And Sri Ramakrishna, the simple, the almost illiterate priest of the Kineshwar Kali temple, without any hesitation, with confidence, he said, yes, I have seen God and I can show you too if you wish. So this conviction that God exists, God can be seen, realized, experienced, this comes from one's own experience, one who has already experienced that. And that is why in the path of bhakti, association with such people is of utmost importance. Next, let us see the last aphorism of this section. This section means this topic called association with great people. The next aphorism 42. Aphorism 42 is the concluding aphorism of this topic. Tat eva sadhyatam, tat eva sadhyatam. Let's read it together. Tat eva sadhyatam, tat eva sadhyatam. Sadhyatam means seek. Tat means that. Eva, alone. And it is repeated again. That is, seek that alone, seek that alone. Seek that alone, seek that alone. Yes. So seek that alone means seek association of holy people. That is that is of utmost importance. So repetition of the this phrase, that seek that alone, tat eva sadhyatam, it is for two reasons. One is when someone concludes a topic, when a concludes topic is concluded, and if the statement is very important, sometimes it is repeated. Secondly, repetition was to emphasize the urgency of the situation and importance of holy company. Among all the other means of cultivating bhakti, association with the holy people is of utmost importance. That is why Narada is repeating we know that in sutra literature, in aphoristic literature, every word counts. So dense ideas are packed into only in few words. In such aphoristic context, if a word if a phrase is repeated, it means that it is of utmost importance. So in aphorism 39, Narada said, holy company is rare. In aphorism 40, he said, holy company happens through divine grace alone. Then the question might come, then if it is rare and it only depends upon divine grace, what should we do? So should we sit idle? Narada says, no, seek that association, this seeking that is in our hand. And it is the mysterious law which cannot be proved through reasoning, but it can only be experienced. And many of us have experienced this, that if we sincerely seek, association of great people, it mysteriously happens. It is said that when the field is ready, the seeds also appear. So, sadhyatam, seek. This is a call to action. Don't sit idle if you want to cultivate bhakti. So, Sri Ramakrishna also said this, that if someone is sincere and does not know how to reach the goal, if the person is sincere enough, ultimately that person reaches the goal. He give this example. The great devotee set out to have darshan of Lord Jagannath of Puri. Puri is a famous pilgrimage place in India. And this devotee did not know the way to Puri. Instead of going south, he went west. He lost his way. So he inquired earnestly from others. They told him, not this way, go that way. This devotee at last arrived at Puri and had darshan of Lord Jagannath. Just see, even if you don't know the way, somebody will tell you. Then, in the audience was Dr. Mahendralal Sarkar, who was skeptic always. He said, but he did lose his way. So he said that this devotee he wanted, he lost his way though. Sri Ramakrishna, yes, he did, but in the end, he reached his goal. So the point is, if we really sincerely seek the company, that is, if we really sincerely seek devotion for God, and consequently seek the company of such people who can inspire us in the path, that happens mysteriously. It is said, it is also believed that it takes a lot of good karma to have such association. It takes a lot of good karma to have association of enlightened people or association of holy company. What are the good karma for a devotee? Good karma we can do so that it happens. That is what Narada emphasized in aphorism from 35 to 37, the 5 practices. 1, restrain from excessive sense pleasure. Restrain from hankering after the sense pleasures. Then uninterrupted adoration of God. That is, try to remember God as much as you can do. It should be a steady practice, a regular practice. Then listening and reading holy books. Fifth, singing and chanting God's name. To that list, we can also add another great karma, which is such a good karma that also brings us the association of holy company, and that is serving God in others, unselfish service to others, which we call karma yoga. If we serve others, if we have a spirit of service to humanity or whomsoever we can, that also mysteriously purifies us and make us fit to have holy company. So sadhatam, seek that alone. So what should we seek? Number one, seek the association with enlightened devotees who are knowers of God. In the absence of that, seek holy company of other devotees. And we noted that hallmark of holy company, how to recognize holy company, is that after such a company, after meeting such people, we shall feel uplifted. We shall feel elevated. A sense of optimism and hope fills our heart that yes, we can also progress in spiritual path. And there is also an extended meaning of holy company, not simply the association with other devotees, but extended meaning of holy company is holy books that Narada emphasized earlier, lives of enlightened people or books written by enlightened people. Then dwelling on holy ideas, uplifting ideas, that is also holy company. Listening to or singing devotional songs, that is also holy company. Chanting our mantra, and ultimately meditation. It is said meditation is nothing but company of God. Having, keeping company with God is what meditation is. Ideally, meditation means holy company of God. So summary of aphorism 42 is, don't sit idle. Prepare yourself for getting association of the knower of God through good karma, and seek holy company which is available to you. So aphorism 38 to 42 discussed the chief means for cultivating bhakti. And the chief means for cultivating bhakti is the company of illumined people, holy company. And bhakti, because why it is so important to note that bhakti is such a thing that cannot be cultivated only by one's own effort. In the initial stage, company of holy people and other devotees are of utmost importance. Unless we grow a sufficient degree of bhakti, we need this support from others. And after a certain stage, our mind becomes our own best guide, own guru. At that time, we won't depend much upon, external holy company. This is what the value of holy company is. And according to Narada, it is of utmost importance as far as the path of devotion is concerned. Next topic is seek holy company, but try to avoid bad company. That is, company which are detrimental for the path of bhakti, which works against bhakti. So that a few aphorisms he will dedicate to that topic, effect of bad company, that one should avoid at least at the beginning. So it is a new topic, and so I don't want to start it today. We shall see it on 19th November. 12th November, we won't have class, as I said, because we have a celebration here on the next day. On 19th, we shall see the new topic called effect of bad company, or we may say not so holy company in the path of bhakti. Let me see what are the questions I have. Do you think that though we may all have qualities of divinity, we carry with us prarabdha karma and have to bear the results of our past actions and overcome them? Only then can we manifest the qualities of divinity. Can you explain? Prarabdha karma is what, which is already starting to give its fruit in our life. Okay. So prarabdha karma does not hinder the manifestation of divinity. Prarabdha karma affects everybody. That is a great discussion in Vedanta we saw in Aparaksham. Even the knower of God, an illumined person, an enlightened person, is also under the effect of prarabdha karma. That will have its effect. That is all right. But in spite of prarabdha karma, we can manifest our divinity. Similar to our Guru Shishya Parampara Paras. Yes, exactly that is what I find this Hasidic way of life, Hasidic mysticism of Judaism. In the gospel, it is said that there are 4 classes of human beings: the bound, those aspiring after liberation, the liberated, and the ever perfect. Most of us in this continuum of 1 and 2. Can you give us your thoughts? Yes, true. Sri Ramakrishna says that, there are several ways of classifying people. Sri Ramakrishna classifies, from spiritual standpoint, 4 types of people. One, who are ever free, very rare. Second is who have already become illumined. That is also rare. Third one is who are trying to be free, in the sense that that is those who are trying to realize their spiritual potential. They want to progress spiritually. They want spiritual growth. And the fourth one is they are happy with their ignorance, or they don't care about spirituality. And he gave examples of, fish, that fishermen cast net on fish, and there are some fish which never get caught in that fish. So the net is the example of this worldliness or samsara. Some of the fish never get caught in this net. They are nitya siddha, nitya mukta. Okay. There are some who were caught but managed to escape. They are ones who tried spiritual life and also reached their goal called illumination, or in the terms of bhakti, we may say they had para bhakti. Then there is third one, those who are trying to escape from the net but are not capable enough to get out of the net. And there is the fourth one, who even don't know that they have been caught in the net. They rather try to hide inside the mud of the river, and they think this is how we shall save ourselves. So these are the 4 types of people. Yeah. surely all of us who are trying in our efforts to have spiritual growth are the ones, mumukshu, the second one, who wants to have spiritual goal, for whom that world is not enough. We want something more than this. Any more question? All right. So we shall have our guided meditation.